I'm Richalvarez, and you're watching Wiki Richie. In 2000, a writer named Darren Shan wrote a book series called The Saga of Darren Shan, but to those of us who don't live in Britain, the book series came out as Cirque Du Freak. That title sounds better. No, it doesn't. In 2009, a movie was made on the series based off the first 3 books. Just hearing that there was a movie being made filled me with excitement. Someone out there loved the books just as much as I did. Or did they? Because then the trailer came out. What the hell is this? Why is the bearded lady such a big deal? John C. Reilly is Mr. Krebsley, the feared vampire, and Darren wants to be a vampire? And the snake boy is emo? What is this shit? I was very scared for this movie. After seeing the movie, I realized the trailer was edited in a way that made things appear worse than they actually were, and John C. Reilly was actually pretty good. But I was still angry at about 1,000,001 other things wrong with this film. But before I explain what those problems are, first I must educate you on the story of the series, if you don't know already. Oh god, time to go to sleep and watch some YouTube news. You go ahead and do that. I'm moving on. The story begins with young Darren as a normal kid. His best friend Steve is a troublemaker obsessed with the supernatural. They discover there's a freak show in town called Cirque Du Freak. The show promises to have a bearded lady, a snake boy, and a werewolf, but to Darren, the most intriguing part of this show is the act with the spider. At the show, they watch in amazement as freak after freak marvels them. Then comes the act with the spider, and the spider's master is Mr. Krebsley, and Steve recognizes him as a vampire. After the show, Darren watches as Steve begs to be turned into a vampire. Krebsley seems intrigued and tries some of the boy's blood. He spits it out, says that his blood is evil and that he would never turn him. Steve, in tears, says that when he is older, he will become a vampire hunter and kill him, and Steve leaves. Darren leaves too, and he is appalled that his friend would want to become a vampire. But for some reason, Darren can't get the spider out of his head, so in the middle of the night, he goes back to the theater, and there he finds the spider in her cage and a coffin. He grabs the cage and leaves a note on the coffin, and like a child, Darren has threatened the vampire by saying he will contact the police and tell them what he is if he tries to come after him. Darren waits a few days and nothing happens, so he thinks he's in the clear. With a little recorder flute, Darren discovers if he thinks what he wants the spider to do while playing it, the spider will do it. One day Steve comes to watch, and all of a sudden Darren's sister bursts into the room, sees the spider and screams. This causes Darren to drop the flute and the spider bites Steve. Darren manages to get the spider back into the cage without it taking its second and fatal bite. Basically, Darren has to confront the vampire and get the antidote or watch Steve die. And when he goes and gets the antidote, he agrees to a contract where he must become a vampire and leave his family behind. You done yet, me? Yes. But that is only a tiny portion of what happens in the series. In the movie, just about everything is wrong. Mr. Tiny, a short fat man who seems to be a puppet master of sorts, is introduced very early, and the movie foreshadows things that will never get explained because there isn't going to be a sequel. The movie starts us off with Darren narrating at his own funeral. Inside the casket, Darren is playing a video game. What? Isn't Darren supposed to be under a very potent potion that's supposed to make him unable to move for a very long time? In the book, he wasn't able to move until well after he was buried, and even then, he was starting to panic from not being able to breathe properly. But what about poetic license, Richalvarez? I don't give a crap. They turned the tone of the entire story from dark to cheesy with that one little change. In fact, they did lots of things that lightened the mood from the book. Back when they were still writing the screenplay, they came up with a much darker script, one that really fit the feeling you got from the book. But then Paul Weitz got a hold of the script and was like, this is too dark, or why don't we make it a bit more comedic and family friendly? Why? So they added names to the script like Salma Hayek, John C. Reilly, William Dafoe, Ken Watanabe, Orlando Jones, and Jane Kruski. These are all great people, but it is definitely the makings of a funny script and not the dark and serious one I was hoping for. In short, Cirque Du Freak is just one more thing in my life that disappointed me. Thank God The Hobbit will be good. Oh, please let The Hobbit be good, please. Well, that's all I have to say about that. I'm Richalvarez, this is Wiki Richie. Good day.
Please subscribe! It's free and easy, just like liking us on Facebook and following us on Twitter, and like clicking the moving thumbnail to watch last week's Wiki Richie on Kingdom Hearts. Hooray! So what are you waiting for? Click it, please!
Richalvarez, you left out some very important characters and skipped over some very important story elements.
I know, but that would take days.